Welcome, you're watching World Talks and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. One of the main questions many have asked about the new president of Poland is how is he going to conduct Poland's foreign policy in an increasingly challenging political environment? The questions we ask here on TVP World are no different as the new president took office on Wednesday and promised he will hit the ground running. Joining me now to discuss what could Poland's foreign policy look like under the new president is Paweł Musiałek, president at the Jagiellonian Club. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thanks for the invitation.
So let's start taking a closer look at the agenda that was outlined, especially in terms of foreign policy when it comes to the first address of the new president, Karol Nawrocki. What do you think are some of the main points when it comes to foreign policy?
I think that we should expect much more continuity on the field of foreign policy than changes. Of course, I mean a comparison with the President Andrzej Duda. Continuity we'll see especially on the fields of policy toward the European Union. Karol Nawrocki underlined that he strongly support presence Poland in European Union. So there is no topic of Polexit. Somebody could be in Poland. Maybe public opinion, some part of public opinion in Poland has different opinion, but for me it's clear that Nawrocki will not support any process leading to Polexit. But it doesn't mean that he strongly support more integration, that he support transfer competence from Warsaw to Brussels. I think that he will be strong defenders of sovereignty and keeping as much power on a state level as it possible. So if, for example, we will have a discussion in European Union about the EU treaties changes, I think that Nawrocki would be a politician who strongly support status quo, or even maybe some to some extent retransfer this some competence toward Warsaw. So on the field of EU policy, I think that his position would be the same as Andrzej Duda. Andrzej Duda declared the same position through the whole decade. I think that the same continuity we'll see on a relation between Poland and United States. Of course, his personal relation with Donald Trump would be important, but we should remember that these relations now are based on a much more stable condition. I mean, they are based on common interest. Poland fulfill expectation of NATO countries and especially US by means of spending money for army, by means of number of soldiers. So of course important aspect is a big amount of money that Poland spend on US army equipment. So I think that these all contexts are stable, and no matter who would be president of Poland, this relation could be good. But Karol Nawrocki and his point of view, the fact that he comes from the political camp that Donald Trump know and cooperates very fruitfully means that this relation could be even better than good.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that President Nawrocki is going to put certain sort of emphasis. I mean, we've seen that during the presidential campaign, while he was meeting President Trump at the White House, and he was seeking for that support during his campaign, that there's going to be a lot more emphasis put on the relationship with the U.S. But moving on, I wanted to ask about the stance on Ukraine, Obviously, this is one of the big topics here in our region in Europe. Considering that President Nawrocki did not even address Ukraine directly during his address, why do you think that is, and how do you think this is going to work in terms of, for example, Ukraine's EU and NATO accession? Because we have Mr. Tusk's strong support on both, and we have a slightly different approach when it comes to the new president. How do you think this relationship with Kyiv is going to work under this split executive?
Of course, Ukraine would be this position on a political map that I think that will be some kind of difference between Andrzej Duda and Karol Nawrocki. Nawrocki during this campaign addressed some more assertive position toward Ukraine, but we should remember that revolution will be not. Karol Nawrocki doesn't mean that we'll experience revolution, because our bilateral relation between government and government of Poland and government of Ukraine now it's not the perfect one. After the changing government in Poland 2 years ago, many, especially on the Ukraine side, many experts and politicians expected that these relation could be much better, because at the end of the government Law and Justice Party, this relation was very well, there was a lot of tension because of the many factors, and after the changing government, these factors didn't change, and the current relation is not is far from the atmosphere that we have just after the war started. So I think that Nawrocki could be the president that will send a very assertive signal toward Ukraine administration, especially towards Zelensky administration. But it doesn't mean that Poland will stop help to Ukraine, support political ones or diplomatic ones. I think that this support and this stance in this war, I mean, support Ukraine and fight with Russia, is something that in Poland is not under discussion. But I think that, for example, when we comes to discussion about the historic topic, when we discuss about the Wołyń massacre and the consequences of that, I think that this topic could be important for Nawrocki. Nawrocki is a historian, so this is explanation why this historical issue could be important. But
we will see how these issues actually are going to shape this discourse, especially that the Polish government is already having those conversations with the Ukrainian side, considering that in April this year the exhumations of bodies in Volhynia have already begun. So there is definitely a conversation. I suppose there's going to be even more. I mean, I would like to take a moment to refer to what you just said about history and Mr. Nawrocki being historian by trade, former president of the Polish Institute of National Remembrance. We've heard, obviously, there's been a response, an international response when it comes to the new president taking office in Poland. We've heard, for example, from the Washington Post, where we heard that Mr. Nawrocki, as a historian by trade, would like to focus on safeguarding and protecting the past of Poland rather than actually creating new narratives that would showcase Poland and lead it into its future of a European powerhouse. And Washington Post seems to suggest that Mr. Nawrocki might actually try to create history anew, and that's a quote from the Washington Post. What's your opinion on that?
I don't see the creation of new history. I didn't see any statement comes from Nawrocki that could be interpreted as a new history. I think that when it comes to Ukraine and discussion about the history of our common relation, I think that all facts that happened in this history on the Polish side was not under discussion. There is a discussion between Polish and Ukrainian historians, but and especially this discussion with the politician on Ukraine, because for them, Wołyń massacre is a kind of I don't want to say event, is a fact in the history that
I would like to just take a moment to clear the air. I don't think the Washington Post was directly referring to the Wołyń massacre. I mean, the facts are out there. I think it's more about the general narrative of where Mr. Nawrocki would like to take his presidency in terms of the narrative around Poland.
Still, I think that there will be much more continuity by means of telling the story about the Polish history with the presidency of Andrzej Duda. Of course, Nawrocki probably will be the president that put a strong pressure on the national proud of our history, because this is typical for right-wing politicians. History is important for Polish identity, and for Nawrocki is important too. So I think that he will, of course, address many statements. He will be engaged in many events, many processes regarding the Polish history. But this is only the signal that history is important, and not the signal that Nawrocki could create a new history. I think that is two different aspects.
I mean, it's not a suggestion. I was just reading this morning from the Washington Post. I was curious of your opinion on this. Just before we go, I wanted to take a moment to ask about the European Union and the Euroscepticism. I mean, it comes as no surprise that Mr. Nawrocki, during his campaign, made it very clear that he has a particular approach towards the European Union. How do you think that presidency and how it's going to work with the current Polish government is going to affect the relationship within the European Union?
Of course, the space of relation with European Union could be a space of battlefield or discourse conflict in a discourse in Poland between Nawrocki and government, because we know that Prime Minister Donald Tusk and his political camp and Karol Nawrocki and his political camp completely in other way defines the main aims toward European Union. For Nawrocki, sovereignty is something which is the most important, and very important issue is how much competence, how much power has a particular member states. For our government, the most important aspect is to join the core of the European Union. So it means that they agree to be in the mainstream, because only via mainstream there is a possibility to influence on European Union. So I think that we should expect some different opinion about that, but we should remember that the role of President of Poland so far was very limited if we discuss about the European Union. This role is much stronger when we discuss about the NATO, when we discuss about the all formats that regarding security policies, but when we discuss about the European Union, I think that there will be some quarrel in the public opinion, in the public discourse. But when it comes to real policy, we should remember that our president has very limited competence. But we, of course, remember the quarrel between Lech Kaczynski and Donald Tusk, and we know that even if these competences are limited, it doesn't mean that these quarrel are limited too.
Mm-hmm. We will see, definitely, because we've heard from President Nawrocki. He was being very clear about his messaging. There's definitely a push to have more positive than negative power. This is it. We will see where the new president takes Poland and what the course of the foreign policy is going to be. Thank you so much, Paweł Musiałek, President of the Jagiellonian Club, was my guest. Thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you very much.
And so this would be all for now here on World Talks. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and I do hope to see you here in just a moment for more news and features.